Thanks very much, Veli. We're ready for our second game of the day, and big stakes here in this matchup. Michael, no different than what we saw from Space Station versus TSM. The Soniqs are looking to create a three-way tie at the top of the North American League standings if they prevail here against Beast Coast in regulation. They finish with 12 points, which would tie them with Space Station and OXG. Based on what we know of these teams and the fact that we're going to Chalet, what do you think the odds are likely that the Soniqs are going to come out ahead? And furthermore, you think Beast Coast has much of a chance?
I'd say I'd give an 80% odds to Soniqs, so I think that answers both your questions. I'll elaborate on that further, but before I get to that, the community poll. For this one, it's going to be Young Alec versus Yeti. Young Alec and Yeti have been efficient on entry this stage, but who will get the most opening kills? Young Alec or Yeti? That'll be your community poll for this one. You can go ahead and vote away. So I want to bring up a little bit of a tidbit to kind of like give us all an image of what's going on here, what you can expect. One of the matches where Beast Coast actually lost Chalet, it was in July. This gets a team called Orgless in a charity event, Gamers Without Borders. Pretty cool. Beast Coast lost that to Orgless, which was the team that Young Alec was on. So they lost so hard that they picked him up. And that was on the map we're about to go into. And honestly, I haven't really seen Beast Coast's... I haven't seen their performance take a turn. I think Veli put it best in the analyst desk. I mean, we've given up on Beast Coast. Most people have.
I mean, Beast Coast are in 5th place. I mean, is it fair to say that we've given up on them? Now, I will say that they're contemporaries at the moment as we get ready to load into this matchup. Going to Chalet, a very strong map for Soniqs, as was talked about by the desk, so set your expectations accordingly. Is it fair to give up on Beast Coast? Because they had a rocky start, Michael, and I think that's fair to say, but they've bounced back. Their round differential is 16-20. It's not terrible. They beat Mirage 7-2. Yeah, they got smoked by OXG 7-1, and they got smoked by TSM 7-1. But they have that 7-4 victory over XSET, 7-2 over Mirage. They are at least beating the bad teams in comparison to their standing with some confidence.
I mean, okay, yeah, sure, absolutely. They're at least beating the lower end of the NAL. I agree with you. I'm just saying that I think in a match like this against the Soniqs, who are currently contesting for first, the odds are stacked against them. And it's on a map that Beast Coast have historically been pretty abysmal on. And also, keep in mind, Parker, with current standings being what they are, Beast Coast have their worst matches yet ahead of them. They're playing Soniqs now. They play against Astralis next, which could be a close match. But then they play Space Station. And for the final match of this stage, they'll play against DZ. It's a rough lineup for BC. It's rough. They're going to have to push it a lot harder than they have been so far through the stage to do anything. And the thing that makes me so scared for them is when I've seen BC lose, they lose with absolute defeat. And it's unquestionable. So I don't know. I'm still worried. I think there's a little bit of light after they won against Mirage, but I'm still worried.
Well, we talked about strength of schedule in the first matchup, and I'm sure it's something that we will revisit now as we get ready for the very first round. Soniqs will be starting on defense. Bar Gaming, one of the more favorable sites, if not the most favorable site for most teams here on Chalet. The operator bans, for those that don't have a visual guide in front of you, are pretty simple, actually. Nothing really that weird. It's Zofia and Mav on attack, with Kaid and Valk being the two defenders that have been removed from the equation. That means that Wamai is available. That means that Mira is available. Malusi is here. And with Frost not being as prevalent as she used to be, Alibi will probably get played a ton, and no surprise, Rexen will be on that role. So just some small things for us to take note of. Nothing really outside of the ordinary from Beast Coast. They are bringing a Yana, a Nomad, and a Jackal. Having all three of those operators present at the same time isn't something we see all the time on Chalet. Usually we'll see two, because there's a role that's filled by an Ashe or a Zofia, or even sometimes a Buck, depending on what they want to bring. A single Heart Breacher's on the board. That's Jay running the Hibana.
Yeah, Young Alec on the Yana is compensation for the Zofia ban that Soniqs dished out. I think they're just trying to bring that soft destruction. You couple that with the nades from the sledge, they're doing all right there. There's a heavy emphasis on the fragging potential for Beast Coast in general. And it is a little bit of an odd setup. I think it's really, again, this is the Zofia ban that tipped us into what we see from Beast Coast currently. So at least they've got good compensation for what they got out of the bans already. I also like what we saw from Beast Coast in their bans. They got rid of a part of the game that is kind of frustrating to deal with on Chalet. They just banned out Maverick and Kaid, so they kind of just eliminated their own little corner. They're like, none of this, please. Thank you very much. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Grixer, you weren't at the 2017 Invitational. Not that I can recall. Sorry, it's the charm.
I know. One of the rarest charms in the entire game outside of the dev charm, and I think it actually might be rarer than the dev charm.
I'm not sure.
Just because of how many devs have worked for the company in the past, but Grixer's going to wear it anyway. It's available on the land build. Yep. Yeti has done a magnificent job, and so have his teammates, of holding out hope for this mural window at the top of Chimney, which is where he's playing. Not too far off from Kansan. They've got these dueling deployable shields, and the crossfire held will prevent anybody from taking up that map control on Beast Coast. So the focus from BC is upstairs on the balcony, and they've got the big window in front of them. Young Alec going in first. That's him in the flesh, not his drone whatsoever. Anthony takes out Yeti, but Kansan still has that angle covered. Young Alec is not quick enough to follow up. So while Beast Coast gets the very first punch, it's traded out magnificently by Soniqs.
Ooh, but there you go. Fozo adding to the tally. Down goes Rexon, who could be such a potent force in these late round situations. He's really good at the last second shot calling. Now, with the man advantage now, Beast Coast also have the vertical control that they need, but the problem is they don't have the sledge. The lack of that soft destruction is going to limit their potential on this top-down scenario. We're going to have to start probing for another pick. This is still very winnable for the Soniqs, despite being a disadvantage.
Down below, Kansan's holding off on this opportunity that Beast Coast are looking to seize, and a toxic canister sits in the Smoke's pocket at any point. You toss it out and do some serious damage. The more that clock kicks down, the better position that Kansan is going to be. He's got Super backing him up. Super's got a Nitro Cell in hand. He's going to wait for the call to go, and there he goes. They get shot at, but does it blow up in time? No, it's managed to be stopped by Beast Coast. They're nestled in safely, and Jay gets the diffuser down, still sitting over top of it. Super is alive, so at least he didn't get punished ultimately. The problem is that Beast Coast have gotten off the site. Jay is prone on top of the diffuser, so if you're going to take that engagement, you got to make sure that you know he's still there. Super thinks there's somebody from above. He doesn't know that Jay's down below. Young Alec falters. Grixer's putting in a work here to try and retake, but there's so much more to be done. Kansan will join him from above as the diffuser's just below the 20-second mark. They know there's one outside. Grixer looks away at the wrong time. Sippin capitalizes off of that. 2 picks, and Beast Coast take round 1.
That's really unfortunate there for the Soniqs, but well played to Beast Coast. A great cover on the C4 from Super. Although I gotta say, a little bit, I gotta put a little bit of blame on Super there. What we just saw from Super was a C4 toss from the doorway when he had a hole prepared for the C4 right next to the mirror window. That would have been much more likely to actually land. Yes, you still have a player looking for the C4, and maybe he still catches it midair, but you have a higher chance of that landing. Number one, because you could throw it sooner. You don't have to rotate all the way over the door. And number two, because there's a smoke right next to that door. Or rather, excuse me, right next to that window, not the door. That's the whole point. Well, that smoke can cover your C4's trajectory. Either way, small mistake. Could have maybe been different. We don't know. Hindsight 2020 and all that, yada yada. But because of that weakness on site, the Soniqs had to be in a retake position after Beast Coast get that plant down. Again, well done to Beast Coast for seizing the opportunity, realizing it existed. But that does somewhat land at the feet for the Soniqs.
Not the start that they wanted, and they're going to go back to this upstairs hold that we had seen with that one mirror window with Yeti playing off of it. The lineup in terms of what is being brought is eerily similar, but some small changes. Kansan freed from the role of Smoke. He'll be playing on Wamai instead, and I think they're more worried about the potential for Beast Coast to get in and attempt a plant, as it's a bar gaming defense for the second round in a row. Soniqs came relatively close, and I honestly believe Grixer could have had that pick onto Sippin from above if he hadn't looked away at quite literally the worst time possible.
Yeah, it could have definitely gone very differently, Parker. I agree. It's unfortunate timing, but there it is. There's also some changes on the attacking lineup. We don't have a sledge anymore. And we've got a Thatcher and a Twitch being brought. Both of them. It's an interesting little dual pick here from Beast Coast. They really want to deal with those mirror windows and electronics. Thatcher being in play is going to be a major difference maker here for Chalet, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of the hard breach come into play when we hit other bomb sites. This one we're on right now is the least hard breach heavy site in the entire map.
The Twitch will be interesting to watch. We've actually seen Twitch a fair bit getting played on this map for people that have been watching an awful lot of Chalet, and we've actually seen a healthy amount of this map throughout the course of the NA League. It's been obviously played in the other regions as well.
Oh,
But
there's the Twitch.
Twitch coming in huge. Look at that cheeky angle from Anthony.
Yeah, that's that range extension from the Twitch drone coming in big. He put it on one of the pillars above. I don't know the angle he used to get it there, but that's some impressive stuff there from Anthony.
And of course, you have a pretty good gun as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So, Beast Coast down below working side by side. And they'll look to get back up to this main floor as Rexon holds the angle. Once again, Yeti had this position covered, but he relied on a teammate for a crossfire. It's there and present from the Soniqs.
No picks yet, and we're pretty deep into this round for it to be a full 5 versus 5. With only a minute 15 on the clock, neither of these teams have seen any real action. It's all been that utility play, picking away at the expected location of your enemy, and no hits so far.
Well, there's flashes in to possibly catch any magnets, burn ADSs. Do they get the all clear? They do. There's still smokes in the hand of Anthony, so he's going to get somewhere, but Super joins the fight. He gets real aggressive and reads this play so perfectly, as does all of Soniqs, leading to a very quick, flawless round. That one just started, and then it was over. Beast Coast get entrapped, and that's it for the round. The Soniqs answer back.
Now it went from a 5 versus 5 to a 5 versus 0 in about 10 seconds. Incredible. And that play from Super, that's what you like to see. He corrected his mistake, his lack of control on the window. His one job, hold that window. He failed it last round, and in that round just now, he managed to make it work. He even picked up a double piece. That aggression that you mentioned, Parker, perfect answer to the problem. So Beast Coast now, having lost their second bar attack, will have to go on to a different site. It's going to be kitchen dining for the Soniqs. Now, as I mentioned earlier, hard breach on bar, not a major factor. Hard breach on this site, it's definitely a big consideration, especially by dining.
Hard breach is something that we're obviously going to keep an eye on. The only hard breach that has been banned out is Maverick. Ace's pick rate is very, very far down at this point. And from what I know of Beast Coast, they tend to only run a single hard breacher. And you know what else I know about Beast Coast? Well, they've got a pretty nice skin in the game. The sales directly support Beast Coast. You can check it out right now in the store, in-game. It's part of that R6 share program, one of the team skins. Soniqs also have a variety of skins in-game. It was actually tweeted out that they should have had a skin with this wave, but they didn't end up getting one in. That should hopefully be addressed and resolved at some point in the future. But if you run the MP5, which is present on Rook, Doc, and on Malusi, then you are perfectly capable of adorning your gun with that skin, and it's a pretty nice one at that.
Yeah, I definitely like... I honestly think that this phase of the share program has been, I think, probably one of the best ones so far. We've got some really nice skins currently out there. If you check out the esports tab, not just for the Soniqs, or Beast Coast, so again, not Soniqs just yet, but not just for either of these teams, but pretty much all of the teams that you see in the NALUL, most of them really, they have some pretty awesome skins out there, so you should definitely check them out.
I would be perfectly inclined to agree here with you. Oh, no. Nice early pick from young Alec. Do keep in mind that this was the map where he started to make a name for himself. Is young Alec back online is the question that we need to ask. Yeti entered the day in the top 5 top-ranked players in all of the NA League, and so far he hasn't been the biggest focus for Soniqs through these 3 rounds. He'll be riding the bench for the remainder. Grixer is pushed off his position from above now as he doesn't want to be the next one to join his teammate watching from afar. Beast Coast have been able to hold on to this numbers advantage for quite a while now, but there's been no refrag from the Soniqs.
Oh, that was dangerous there from Grixer, but the awareness of the angle being held there for Beast Coast, that's pretty good. That's Sippin, I believe, on that long angle. He's trying to cut the rotate, but he's too far away to make it happen. Here's that hard breach we talked about, and the reason it's so relevant is now you've opened up above the site you want to clear, which means no vertical pressure from the defenders. and now you've opened up the site specifically that you want to entry in on. That's going to be difficult for the Sonics to deal with, but they're going to even out the man count before we hit the execute.
So they still hold this angle, they still hold these positions, and they hold an even number at 4 apiece. Rexon not been shaken off of his spot. Super taking quite a beating down below. As you can see, some of his teammates above will look to hold off on this clock. But a grenade goes out, and that'll seal the deal. A second kill from young Alec. He looks to take out the deployable shield and walk forward, but it misses. Kansan takes out Jay. That's your Heart Breacher and Diffuser down. Sippin has his teammates back, but a big 2-piece from Kansan, no more. Leaving Rexon to clutch out in a 1v2. Watching from above, he's just a little bit too slow and does some serious damage, but he needs to be very wary, and he repeaks, not understanding that Anthony is there. Beast Coast take their 3rd round in the seesaw of a match thus far, and they regain the lead.
Huge round there from Anthony. Beast Coast putting up some important frags on control of the West lobby. That was the most major consideration there. Sippin also having a really important round. Just in general, though, it's the SAS attackers on Beast Coast who pulled the most weight. So the problem for the Sonics is that they have the vertical control, which is huge. They're not using it, though. They did open up the drop down, and that was great. Rexon also got a pick upstairs. Fantastic. But one of the most important parts of having your top floor control on that site is the ability to open up above West Lobby, which is exactly where Beast Coast came from. They entered in West Lobby, came up from the basement, came from the windows, and they had so much control because of it. That's how Sippin got his 2-piece on the entry. What you could do, though, is if you're above, you can open holes in your floor and West Lobby ceiling, and then suddenly that push is just not feasible for the attack. We didn't see that fully utilized by the Sonics. A glaring hole in their defense, and that was well exploited by Beast Coast.
Well, I don't know exactly what we're gonna see moving forward. This Beast Coast team definitely looks rejuvenated, energized, so to speak. A big round from Sippin came out at the start. He's been as reliable as ever thus far, and the team ultimately is very cohesive. Getting those early picks and keeping the hot hands from the Sonic cool is going to be a big focus. If Beast Coast can keep that up, if they're not engaging needlessly or recklessly, and they use on attack those drones to great effect, and manage to isolate the players from Sonics who are most vulnerable, then you can keep some of the greatest strengths of the Sonics at bay and ultimately turn them into a weakness. Beast Coast now looking towards taking care of Library first things first, and they will have some scouting being done by both Jay and young Alec, who is in and off to the races. It's another crack on a different bomb site this time on defense for Sonics. They'll go downstairs to Kitchen. They had just attempted the bomb site that was very similar, the same bomb site this time again. We haven't seen that master bomb site from above, so even though they're going to be defending it from above like they would be defending master, they're going to need to hold on to that map control, and they held on to it in the dying moments of the previous round.
Yeah, so it's second time's the charm so far for the Sonics on Chalet. We'll see if they can keep that up. They had to do bar twice. Now this is the second time at dining. That'll give us an even round count if they manage it, but there's no guarantee of that, obviously. Here comes the clone from Alec. Good job to Yeti dealing with that information gathering, the clone and the drone. Ooh, lots of pressure on Rexon now. He's just had another angle added to his list of things he has to watch, and here comes the entry into Piano. Beast Coast are being a lot more aggressive on the top floor than they were last time, and it's going to punish them as Yeti gets one, but Jay with a follow-up. Beautiful stuff, and Sippin from Big Window will get Grixer. Sonics falling apart at the seams before Rexon corrects course, and Sippin does just the same. Cans it up from the stairs, and wowee, it's a 2 versus 2. The action upstairs finally settles down.
Kansan with the most kills on his team is still alive, so that's a boon for Sonics just in terms of prowess. They got that diffuser down, but then Fozo retrieved it. So Beast Coast still know that they have work to be done. No hard breach available, and the top player from Beast Coast has been Sippin thus far. He's also out of the equation. The 2 last players of Sonics isolated over by Trophy. Is this something that Beast Coast is aware of? That is going to be the big question. Super still roaming, still wandering, repositioning himself so that if A takes happen, he can stop it. His teammate Kansan playing back inside of B as there's still soft destruction being done, but Beast Coast You've got to hurry. The seesaw of a match, well, so far would give the upper hand to the Soniqs just based on what we've seen. With 15 seconds left, Beast Coast know how tough this is going to be, but that's a big pick on Nikanzen by Anthony. Super will try to hold out. He's got marks, he's got pings, he knows where he needs to go. But does he have the stuff? Serious damage done, but Fozo walks in and denies the Soniqs a tie game. The lead will grow for Beast Coast as they're up 3-1.
Here's Beast Coast doing what they always do. As soon as the expectations for Beast Coast are as low as they possibly can be, they start to pick up these impressive rounds. See, that's the thing. They're such a good team in certain moments. And it's what causes us to question the results or the expectations for them as a team. Honestly, I think it's part of why the faith has been shed for a lot of people. It's hard to say whether Beast Coast are going to have a good day or a bad day. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other, and it's so back and forth. You said seesaw in regards to this match, Parker. I'd say Beast Coast's overall career has been a seesaw, and that's pretty much the main story for me, at least. And now, right now, we're on the up. Beast Coast are looking good. That last round breaks the pattern. Soniqs are no longer having second times the charm on the sites they go to. They'll have to revert back to Bar, which has been their best site so far and the only one they've won a round on.
All right, well, second time's the charm is something that we had talked about, and you just pointed out, well, they didn't really have the best results on Kitchen for different reasons on both takes, and very, very different reasons. And huge credit to Beast Coast with the way that they're changing this up. You know, the narrative heading in here was, are we still sleeping on Beast Coast, or are we at a point where we think that's about it? And I think right now, with the showing that they have on this match, Beast Coast are proving all of us wrong. The Soniqs do not look like the same team that they were before. In fact, this looks like the Soniqs that showed up against Xset, not the Soniqs that showed up against their other contemporaries, against Dark Zero, against Astralis. Like this is the Soniqs team that struggled really hard on that fabled coastline matchup that Xset ended up prevailing in 7-3. If you're Beast Coast, you want to knock off the Soniqs early. There's still a timeout if you need to right the ship. That's something that Super and Jobro can take advantage of, but hasn't been called yet. I don't know if it will be called. If Beast Coast goes up 4-1, they might pull the trigger and look more towards the next half if they fear that this is just a simply attacker-sided Chalet and that's where the Soniqs could make up ground.
I mean, these teams have a lot in common, Parker. They both have kind of turquoise, cyan logos.
Aquamarine, teal.
Kind of that area, yeah. And they both struggle with consistency. That is the biggest thing. I mean, you're talking about how Beast Coast are giving us a good performance right now, and yeah, they are. But when's that going to stop? Is it going to be the next Playday? I don't know. I need to see a whole stage from either Beast Coast or the Soniqs where they're consistent. And we haven't really seen a lot of that yet. Oh boy! Kansas gets out of that though, because the nade is poorly cooked. Really poorly. And because of that, Beast Coast do not get the first pick.
That could have been an easy kill on Nikanzen. He had no protection whatsoever on those library stairs, and he will remain there, by the way. Yet he's going to be giving callouts that, hey, there's company up here. We might need you to help. So pitch in, Kanzen. Get up there. But Yeti can take matters into his own hands. Rexon finds one, but finally Yeti's reign of terror is ended. The thing with North Star is that those Konas will still be there. And for Thunderbird, she's gone. Not available. Her gadgetry completely removed from the... Or rather, she's still there, but her gadgetry will still persist. Soniqs finds themselves in a 3v3 with 50 seconds left. Kanzen is still on these library stairs, but he's moved down towards the basement now. Just the mudroom right next to him. It looks like the silhouette of Sippin on drone. Trying to figure out the best place to attack this bar gaming site. Hey, you like to vault in the big window and go for that plant, but that option doesn't seem to be available, so Beast Coast will have to figure something out with 30 seconds left.
Mirror window is the major problem here. Super has the C4. He's ready to use it. No smokes this time. Here comes the nade, and it's well cooked this time. Down goes Super, and that's the mirror window control lost. Look at this. Fozo's going to take up control in back bar storage. He's got a firm hold on the bar door. Kanzen, though, will punish Sippin. Diffuser still in hand. Down goes Fozo, though, in the storage. Thanks to Grixer. He needs to find one more. He sees him, but it's Kanzen to get the final kill. And the Soniqs will take the round, stopping the bleeding.
Remarkably poor coordination from Beast Coast there on that one. The retake coming in into a 2v3, and you are watching the wrong angle. You're watching the right angles at the wrong time. The first casualty that comes in at the hands of Soniqs near the bomb site forces the sledge of Anthony off of that diffuser, leaving Fozo in back bar to watch towards the doorway that leads into the bar component. But they are not aligned at all. If Fozo had just held that angle instead of watching the diffuse of Anthony, that likely would have been a pick onto Grixer. At best, it would have been a 50-50 for either of them, and Grixer might have still come out on top. But it didn't necessarily mean that they were going to throw the round the way they did. And for Beast Coast, those are the types of missteps that you cannot be allowing to happen, because that was a round that up until the final 10 seconds was very firmly in my books in the Beast Coast category. But they didn't have information. You could see that when Anthony vaulted in, he was very worried about getting pushed from above. So he repositioned to an area where somebody in the library couldn't see him, which was by the mirror window. Unfortunately, that was the worst spot to be in, given the way that the Soniqs decided to retake the site. If he had planted in the default alcove underneath that hatch, he would have got away scot-free. Maybe spotted from the retake from Grixer from main lobby, but that once again is 50-50 because Fozo presumably would have been watching that angle. Really unfortunate luck for Beast Coast, as they seemed like they were some strategically sound heading into that round, and through the mid-round they were doing well, but ultimately they botched it at the end, and the Soniqs took very easy advantage of the lack of coordination on BC's side.
Wholeheartedly agree, Parker. And you know those plant spots that you were talking about, that's always such a hard conversation when it comes to bar, and it's why bar is considered one of the best sites on this map at a competitive level. Now, focusing on this round, we've got a bottom floor defense. We're talking about sites and what's considered to be good and bad. Well, the bottom floor is typically the worst for this map. Not always, mind you, and it depends on the team, it depends on your preference, depends on a lot of factors. So far, through this stage, Master and Office is the worst statistically, and this is the second worst. So, you know, it varies. So this is going to be difficult for the Soniqs, but they are clearly not happy with their kitchen defense. And obviously Master is worse statistically, so hey, what the heck? Go for a bottom floor for the last round of the first half.
I mean, we've seen an uptick in the amount of teams willing to go to this bomb site, and I feel like it has become slightly more defendable. I don't know the reasoning or the rationale, if it's just simply a meta shift or not, but Bandit's pick rate has gone up quite a bit, and teams are now more likely to experiment with it, even though it does have, or at least did have, an abysmal win rate for the defenders. At one point, I think it was like 36% win rate for the defenders on this bomb site, which is absolutely brutal. You never, ever want to go there.
It's 33 right now, so...
So it's even worse. There you go. So
no, but it's better than Master, which just played more and has an 11% win rate for defense.
Well, that's because if you lose Solarium and you lose the back of the site, that's it. It's over, right?
Yeah, and so go here, because they can't defend kitchen, so go here.
Well, right now the Soniqs are doing an okay job of defending, as the only thing that's really been done to them is a tiny bit of damage to Kansan. About a third of his HP. He expends a Nitro Cell in the process after he'd seen a grenade go by, and Beast Coast are just chunking away portions of these walls, tearing them down. Yeti taking some damage now as well. Beast Coast guns are finding their marks, but not successfully. Traded off as Yeti goes first, but Grixer has a refrag onto Anthony. That's technically an opening pick for Beast Coast, but it amounts to absolutely nothing as both teams go back to a 4v4. 30 seconds remain. Soniqs still have bodies up top as well. Young Alex sustaining some damage, sipping on the hunt, looking for Rexon. I don't know if he can hear his footprints on the library stairs, but he might be keen to get into the bomb site. As Beast Coast still are the ones on attack. They still have to do what needs to be done, and Jay walks in blind. Rexon's there. Crossbody karate. Down he goes. Another opportunity, and it's a big double for Rexon. Sippin's down as well, and Fozo's the last hope. He's going to walk right up and super with the shotgun out. Picks up an impactful kill. Maybe impactful, it was a 1v4. It's impactful because you win the round off of it. And not just win the round, but you tie the first half. Just like in our very first game, these 6 rounds amount to nothing. We are back to a tie game as both teams sit at 3 apiece, with Beast Coast now going on to defense and the Soniqs heading into attack.
Okay, a couple things to dissect there. First of all, clearly Beast Coast were not ready for a bottom floor defense. They were not prepared. They seemed to struggle with the decision making on their execution. But the most important thing Why is your diffuse planter gonna rotate out through the door when you haven't even cleared? First of all, you haven't cleared the shield on pillar. Super is still there, so he's got line of sight on that guy pushing in from the door. Second of all, you've got no control over blue door. None. That's not a safe push. Rexon punishes that. Well done to Rexon. He even gets a second off of it. There's layers to the questionable decision-making we just saw from Beast Coast on the execution. I see that's what it all comes back to, Parker. We see moments of brilliance where they clearly and directly counter their opponents, like we did for 3 of those rounds. Well, two of their 3 wins, I would say, were very, very well coordinated. And then we see rounds like that where there's just not enough preparedness for a bottom floor defense, the potential of it. And then when you do know it's there, the execute comes out, but it's poorly coordinated. And it makes you wonder, are they like, where's their routine? Where's their practice showing forward? And that's the story of Beast Coast right now. It's that back and forth, you know, we've been using the seesaw as an analogy for multiple different things so far through this match, but when is that going to stop? When are we going to see Beast Coast put their foot on the gas and just stay there? And honestly, the same thing applies to Soniqs. And yeah, I mean, we've been seeing that back and forth represented for both teams through this match.
Well, this could be a repeat of the match we just watched for those of you that didn't tune in. And I'm sorry if you're going to watch this one on a VOD and you haven't watched it live, but spoilers inbound. It was a split first half between TSM and SSG, and guess what happened? SSG then won 4 defenses in a row and took the matchup 7-3. Entirely possible that on a map like Chalet, which does tend to skew attacker-sided, that it could happen here with the Soniqs as well.
Actually, Parker, Hot and Hot went and won against TSM. I'll have you know.
My apologies. You're absolutely correct. But the thing that I'm saying is that this could, with the way that the map is going to play out, and we need to keep our eyes on this and then make a judgment after the fact, which makes us look much smarter than we actually are, is that this first half could have actually been a loss for Beast Coast if the attackers have a sizable advantage, because you had the upper hand and yet you couldn't establish a lead based off of it. But this is something we'll keep our eyes on as the first Lion charge goes out. There's still 2 remaining from Kansan. Sippin policing from above, watching Chimney and also the main lobby down below. This is a bar gaming defense. SQ are about to knock on the door. They are very close to where they need to be.
Yeah.
The only anti-flank that they brought is Zero. He's an operator who does tend to show up here, and you best bet that those cameras are out in the right place. Speaking of, he's involved in the very first casualty, but sipping to die, and now Jay joins him. Certainly looks like the attackers have everything going for them. It's 2 from Yeti. Debris raining from above as Beast Coast are getting slaughtered in and around the bomb site. And a flawless round from Soniqs, their second thus far in this matchup. What a statement to make for your first round on attack.
So that's the slow death there for Beast Coast. And there's a couple factors that pay into that. Number 1, most significant and the most important thing I want you all to take away from that, the Soniqs had a well-coordinated attack. Their positioning was in tandem. They worked together. They knew what they were controlling. So what were the Soniqs doing there? Essentially, they're poking holes in the defense. They're setting up lines of sight. They're getting themselves in positions where they're relatively safe as individuals, but can control a particular rotation on or off the site, around the site, the constant highways that are frequented by the defenders. They're cutting those off one by one. And then they start a cascade effect of pushing in simultaneously while still holding those angles and forcing repositions from the defenders, because they're doing this together. When someone pushes in on your angle and you have to rotate as a defender to try and address that from a different position, and there's another attacker ready for that rotate, that's what starts that cascade effect. And it kind of just falls apart like dominoes for Beast Coast. So that's the Soniqs coordinating well. And number 2, absolutely no counterplay from Beast Coast. You cannot let a team set up on you like that. It doesn't matter what team it is. We always used to say, oh, you know, you can't let Vitality set up on you like that because they're always going to... No, I mean, if a team sets up well on you and you don't have any counterplay potential, if you're not going to have any roamers as an X factor, if you have no one in a position where they're going to be able to take their head-to-head because they're at a disadvantage in that engagement, that's a problem. You have to force yourself out of those positions. We saw no such thing from Beast Coast, and look at this, a rush from Grixer.
He's almost in. He's in the barbed wire right now. They're still doing setup. They have no idea that he's here. He's hit the pause button for a second. That's as much of an advance as he's going to get, and he doesn't realize that the silhouette is just behind that wall, but is someone going to pop out over it? He doesn't know. They're so close.
See, this
so
is what
close,
I was...
and he can hear it.
This is what I'm talking about with angles. He's got the cut. He knows he doesn't need to go any further. He's going to wait for a drone before he even makes a move. But because of this cut, he could potentially get a pick off of it.
Just under the planter, the smoke Jay sits. I think he just saw the head, but he narrowly misses out on it. I don't know if Anthony knows this. There go a couple bullets, so I think they understand that someone's playing there, or is at least close to a sixth sense or premonition from Beast Coast. Who knows? Bit of paralysis will envelop Beast Coast as there goes the first lion charge. Still more to go as Canton's on drones. The wall in front of Jay gone. That's easy passage into dining, and Jay gets swatted away by Grixer. Soniqs looking formidable on attack thus far. Their first round was a flawless. They're looking to emulate that, and they get the very first pick to start as Jay is off the board.
That pick right there is exactly what I meant from the last round. And look at that, a follow-up with a nade. That's great utility use. Sippin is down, and he has no way of getting up other than a teammate manually picking him up. It'll force Fozo to rotate. Oh no! Fozo just rotated off of the only vertical play that they have that's relevant, and the nade nets two because of it. Terrible decision from Fozo, and it makes the situation even worse. He could have been holding from above this whole time. C4 from Anthony will get one. Young Alec gets another. That's the diffuser on the floor. No plant going down for the Soniqs. The smoke was not the right call. Now this is a 2 versus 3. A lot more winnable for Beast Coast.
Kansan watching intently. There's still a minute to go. All of this action has happened. Half of the server cleared out with 50 seconds remaining on the clock. There's still time for them to be able to pull this off. The thing for Anthony and young Alec, though, is that it's just going to be fist to fist. There's no utility available at their disposal. And the Vector and the Roni aren't necessarily the guns you want to have, and they both die in the same time. Good coordination from the Soniqs there. Not entirely certain what happened, but so it goes some rounds. The Soniqs putting on a clinic on attack. They've now picked up 4 rounds in a row. And it looks like Beast Coast is going to hit that big red timeout button.
So that moment right there, by the way, this is the right time for a tactical timeout. They need to stop this. That moment right there, I really, again, I had to say Fozo. Fozo's holding from above on half wall. He's got the angle up vertically to deny a push into dining, to deny a plant. He is the most important player on defense. And then he gives that up to drop into kitchen and try and pick up his teammate. That is not the play. I don't care what the scenario is. That is not the play. You have the control. You're not being pressured off that control. Maintain that control. That is your only answer. I don't know. It's curious. Soniqs, though, they took that one. Don't look the gift horse in the mouth. Take that dub. Walk away with it. Now, I want to talk a little bit about also those angles that were being cut. Grixer, he put himself in the short hallway into dining really early on. The patience displayed there, that is a winning mentality. That's exactly what you need. And Grixer is one of those players that you would question whether he has the ability to play patiently like that. There you go. You have your answer. Getting that entry on the smoke caused that round to be a lot easier. Imagine smoke's up and you're trying to make a dining push happen. He's got his gas canisters. Way more difficult. Not the case. Well done, Grixer. Well done to Soniqs making that call to insert him there. It's exactly what you need.
I really appreciate that you highlighted the smokes as well, because they certainly did more harm for the Soniqs at that point. When you have such a sizable advantage, you are up a 5-2, you've got firm control of half of the bomb site, and you know that Beast Coast are either playing all the way back in West Main or inside of Trophy. You know that you've got 4 players who can watch as that diffuser gets planted and hold those angles. Now, most of those gunfights without smokes are going to be engaged in a 50-50 type of deal. So it's possible you still lose both of them. But the smokes allowed Beast Coast to reposition aggressively and take engagements because the Soniqs, who have so far been the superior team on the scoreboard, did not see where Beast Coast was coming from. And that advance by Beast Coast was very well read, and a major tip of the hat to them for that. Unfortunately, it was too far gone at that point, and the round was ultimately really hard to win given the fact that those 2 picks, A, didn't negate the map control that Soniqs had, and B, as I touched on, you have a Vector and a Roni in that particular instance, and the Soniqs are quite patient. They're just going to wait you out and push you at the same time so that those low magazine weapons, even though they have high rate of fire, aren't going to be your best friend on defense.
Snowmobile opened up, and the Soniqs applying pressure downstairs. That's going to make the consideration for Beast Coast to spread a little bit more thin. So they have to think about the potential of a vertical play from below. Jay and Sippin, the 2 players tasked with holding on to Library. Difficult job, and here comes the Flores drone. Lots of damage done there to Jay. He's going to be put down to about 80-90. That's not ideal. If another Flores drone can make it in, I mean, that circumvents all your ADSs. It circumvents your magnets. It doesn't matter how many you bring. Flores drone goes direct to the source, and it could cause more problems for Jay, but he's so far doing a pretty good job of holding onto this position. Here comes attempt number 2 from Yeti. He goes up high, but he fails, and he's going to go in short, and it works. He'll force Jay out of the position and down into billiards.
Because of the position Jay was in, he can't really lose too much, and he probably wouldn't have died to the drone ultimately, though he absorbs more damage later on, and there goes Sippin. Rexon just walks right in. Grixer falls to young Alec, and they're going to need a big performance. Sippin still leading the team, but he's gone a bit quiet. Jay taken out by Yeti. Anthony traded off. The Soniqs are so lethal right now. They are bullying Beast Coast, and it sure seems like this was an attacker-sided affair. Ozo will do his damnedest, but this might be a hopeless endeavor. And an impossible task with the position that he's in. He's doling out tons of damage, and Kansan and Yeti had some serious damage being done, but Yeti will be the one to secure that. There were so many people from from Soniqs involved in that. It was ultimately a total and utter mess. Soniqs indomitable so far, as talked about. They have 2 wins already on this map in this split, and it looks like it will continue as stage 3. This is very firmly their home. Astralis and Dark Zero both put away by Soniqs. It sure looks like Beast Coast is going to join them.
Yeah, that was a nice attempt there from Fozo, I gotta say. He almost made that happen. I feel like if he had a 30-round magazine, he actually might have been able to work something in there. Fozo did have a lot of open targets and a lot of opportunities, and he was landing his shots, especially on Rexon in the main lobby. Very impressive shot. But at that point, as we like to say, it was too far gone. It's certainly too far gone. And again, I gotta lay that at the feet of the Soniqs. Their coordination is stellar, especially on their bar execution. And they're using a lot of pressure points that, while not uncommon, are difficult to deal with as a defender, difficult to plan for. For example, the push into main lobby from Rexon. He's holding the right angles. He knows what he's doing. He's landing his shots. It's hard to counter that. I know it seems like it would be easy, right? Oh, it's a guy coming in from the front door. Obviously, I could just prepare for that. But because of the nature of the main lobby and the openness of it, there's so many different places that player can be. Unless you have hard information, it's a difficult challenge, and you're not going to beat Rexon in that fight. I'm sorry, you're just not. So, with the Soniqs having their pressure points dialed in on bar, they're going to force Beast Coast to go to, statistically, the worst bomb site on this map by a country mile, having a whopping 11% defense success rate, and that's from a decent pool of rounds. This site is just not good. It's just not good for this stage. Let's see if Beast Coast can correct that.
Tough position to find yourself in, but I mean, desperate times call for desperate measures here. Soniqs had looked a little weak on defense, and Beast Coast's coordination was strong. They found good entry points, and they made Soniqs pay, especially with some of those opening picks breaking in their favor. But after the side swap, it's been all Soniqs all day, and they're bringing a lineup that they know so well. Soniqs love this Lion play, and Kansan is really feeling it. Okay, Rexon in tow, picks up one, but he's going to have to deal with 2 different players. Somehow gets alive, but Kansan takes down young Alec, and Anthony is managing to survive, but he walks through the fire, and Yeti trades him out. What is going on in this match right now? We are a minute into the round, and it's all Fozo and Jay against every single player from Soniqs.
Well, I'll tell you what's going on here, Parker. The coordination for the Soniqs on their attacks is excellent, and Beast Coast are not ready for it. What a pick-apart of the library roam. Beast Coast heavily invested. They knew that they wanted to make it difficult, and the Soniqs were ready. Here comes the final cleanup. Grixer with the nade onto Jay. Fozo's peeking for nothing. It's another flawless round for the Soniqs, and they will take this half. They will take this map, and GG's roll out in the chat.
Well, there was some doubt at the start. Beast Coast looked like they were on even footing with Soniqs, whether it was because Soniqs were playing a bit worse or because of the fact that Beast Coast were simply upping their game from what we've seen of them thus far. But then the Soniqs remembered why Chalet was their go-to. 3 of their players breaking double digits. Kansan on the precipice of doing that, but will not accomplish it now that the matchup is done. And we started the day, Michael, with Oxygen sitting alone atop the standings with 12 points. But then after that very first matchup, SSG joined them, and now a third team will sit with the same amount of points. Nobody else is going to get there by the end of the day, by the way. Nobody else can accomplish 12 points, so that will be locked in because OXG has the day off. But the Soniqs, they decided that they wanted to go home, and they wanted to send Beast Coast home. And that's ultimately what ended up happening, and that was, what was that, 5-6 rounds in a row
Something
for the
like
Soniqs? Really incredible stuff.
Super impressive play from the Soniqs, really, especially on attack. They put some amazing rounds together. Their ability to cut off those rotations and really punish every movement that Beast Coast made was stellar to watch. And I asked Parker, at the beginning of the first half, it looked like Beast Coast were putting something together, and I asked, when's that gonna fall apart? I didn't expect it to be today. I maybe, like a game or two, because that's what the thing is with Beast Coast, man. You see some amazing rounds from them. You see some really good siege from Beast Coast. You can see the practice shining through, and then you see super questionable decisions. I guess that is what it is.
There's one really interesting thing here right now that I actually am curious to see how this shakes out in the standings. So OXG started the day in 12th, with 12 points in first, but OXG lost in their matchup to Space Station, which means that just based on points alone, SSG should be ahead of them. But now adding the Soniqs, I don't know if we just go off of head-to-heads or if they all get put into a mini league, but the Soniqs defeated Space Station 7-5 in their first match. So does it go Sonic, Space Station, OXG for the standings? Do we toss them into a mini league? That's something that the analysts, I'm sure, are going to talk about, and the admins will also confirm with. But before we get there, that's the first half of our show. Kix and I are done for the day. Blue and Stokes will take you the rest of the way. Our very next matchup is Dark Zero versus Xset. That's going to be a thriller. We'll see you in just a couple minutes.
What does it take to call next? Follow us for a deep dive into the Rainbow Six community, breaking down barriers, taking you behind the scenes, and showing what it means to level up.
If you want to get better, try reviewing your game footage. Insights.gg's game capture tool makes recording and reviewing fast and easy. With no lag, automatic recording, and instant highlights, it's never been easier to learn from your gameplay. Try it for free at insights.gg today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the NAL. We saw Soniqs go ahead and get the win against Beast Coast, where it looked like Beast Coast had a chance earlier on. But the replays brought to us by Predator. We're going to break this all down. And next to me is going to be helping me out. It's going to be Caliber, Jacob, and Jesse, fellas. It looked good at first, didn't it? We got to tip our hats off, at least for the attacking half of Beast Coast.
Yeah, it's true, but I did figure a 3-3 half for Beast Coast was probably still going to give the Soniqs a little bit too much ground to come back from. I thought maybe a 4-2 half might make it a little bit easier, but then not a single defensive round one from Beast Coast. Soniqs were all over the place, working at lightning speed. Rexon with multiple opening kills on the attack meant that Sippin couldn't get going in this game, especially on the defense, and it just turned this into a rout.
Yeah, for those paying attention, that's 2 wins in a row for the Soniqs. That's 2 Chalet wins in a row for the Soniqs. And that's 2 Chalet wins in a row for the Soniqs where they go down early and then have a flawless second half. With that, they also avoid relegations and are the 3rd team to lock down a spot in next year's season. So congrats to the Soniqs. Big win for them, and they're right up there in the race to make it to the major.
And right up there are their stats as well. I mean, are you kidding me? Rexon, Yeti, Grixer, they look like they were smurfing, man. 12-4 for Rexon, 90% calls, but not only that, but let's talk about it. The opening kills, that's insane. Like, it was completely mismatched. And honestly, Jacob, like we said earlier, Beast Coast looked good. There was a 3-1 start when they were on attack, and then after that, they just didn't see a win after that.
It's true. I think Beast Coast on attack looked good, like you mentioned, through those 3 wins, especially since it seemed like they kind of caught Soniqs off guard. Then Soniqs started to bounce back with some adaptations on defense of their own, and also capitalizing off of a couple of strange coordination and maybe misthrown mistakes that Beast Coast were making, especially when we went back down to games on round 5. It looked like that was an opportunity for Beast Coast to at least walk out of their attacking half with a 4-2 split, but it wasn't to be because of those adaptations from SQ. And then defensively, Soniqs just do not care who is on defense. They will run roughshod over you, but they were doing it so quickly, which is a much bigger point to focus on, and we'll get to it in a sec.
Jesse, I mean,
Yeah.
one thing that you were saying about Beast Coast on defense was that, yeah, you know, their setups look nice and all, but it wasn't to counter anything the Sonics were throwing at them. It just seemed to just not work at all. Well, obviously with the score, right? What were a
Right.
few things that you picked off from that?
Right. Well, I think when you think about Sonics, like one of the key defining figures about the Sonics is that they're really not a top-down style of team. They typically shy away from sledge. They do bring on occasion, but they're really a team that likes to push horizontally. They like to figure out the bomb site without going for too much top-down play. And it didn't feel like Beast Coast were really reading into that and trying to take advantage. On the game's defense, absolutely Sonics were trying to take that top floor. But on some of those other defenses, like that kitchen defense that they were going for, when the Sonics were trying to attack, it was all horizontal. And what that meant was that Beast Coast had free reign on the top floor to try to do something, to try to help out the main floor players, to try to get those angles down on those players and stop Sonics from doing whatever they wanted to do. Instead, all they did was over peak from inside the bomb site, eat frag grenades, drop down when they didn't need to, and it just didn't work for Beast Coast. So I would have liked to see a little bit more utilization of that top floor. Let Sonics into your bomb site if you have to, but then punish them with those vertical angles. Instead, they weren't doing that. They were playing too afraid up top, and that caused them to lose a couple of those rounds.
Right, and this is an open discussion for anybody that wants it, okay? Kansan did great, yet once again, Jacob was hyping him up before the game started, but also, you guys really loved what you saw with a specific operator that Kansan was choosing to do so well. Who wants this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it at least at the first start, and then Jacob, you can maybe follow it up. But Kansan with the Lion, that was the key thing for me. So consistently, when Sonics were attacking that top floor and were trying to run through it, he was the reason why the players on Beast Coast just couldn't move. It's so difficult to roam when those EE1D charges are getting utilized against you, and there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, and it definitely led into what they were doing from that speed point of view that I was trying to mention from before, which is that SQ are attacking so quickly and it's avalanching rounds over and over again. It's a multi-man advantage remaining for the Sonics, sometimes a 5-3, even a 5v2 with only a couple of seconds gone. There's a time where Grixer gets a 3K within literally 30 seconds close to a Sonics execute, and there aren't enough bodies remaining for Beast Coast to get back into position and attempt or have any hope against a retake. That happened round after round after round on all of their attacks. It slid into a disadvantage for Beast Coast every single time, and you have to attribute a lot of that to the way Lion is able to crowd control and contain what Beast Coast were trying to do, which was a very heavy roam setup overall.
And I think one player that really was suffering on the end of that was Sippin. I mean, he was having a really tough time on the defense trying to
Three opening deaths.
3 opening deaths, all of them to Rexon, if my notes are correct there, which means that, like, the Lion charge was getting popped, Rexon was running in, and Sippin just had nothing to do because he couldn't run away. He would get spotted on those pings, then he would get gunned down through a soft wall. He had to stay still, but because they had that information, he was struggling. And it sucks to see because Sippin really impressed me in those first 6 rounds. I thought he was a big reason why those attacks were going the way of Beast Coast. He was always trading his teammates, right? When they would go for that execute, Sippin was in there maybe second, maybe third, trading out his teammates that were getting those deaths inside of the site. And it's just unfortunate they couldn't replicate that success on the roam game.
Yes, now, Jacob, I need your help. There was a lot of talk behind the scenes, and we also heard it during the commentary, right? Something about a mini league and tiebreakers and trying to make it somewhere. Now, for someone that is completely lost, how do you describe... Basically, lay it out for a 5-year-old, okay? We need some help here.
Yeah, all good. If we get a chance to look at the standings, it'll make a little bit more sense. But with this victory, the Sonics have now put themselves into 12 points. They have 4 wins in regulation, 1 regulation loss, which means points-wise, they're tied with both OXG and the Sonics for first place overall in the North American League. We knew some teams are going to vault above OXG today, and so far 2 of them have done that. But if we look at the standings, you might ask yourself, they're all at 12 points, they all have the same record, which one's supposed to be first? Well, because they all have the same points and the same record, it puts them into what's known as a mini league. And what that does is if you just look at the records between all of those 3 teams in first, second, and third against one another, that's what's contained within that mini league. So for example, Sonics already beat SSG, which means Sonics would be above OXG in that ranking. SSG have played both OXG and Sonics, and they're 1-1, which means that would put them in second, and OXG have only played SSG, which means they have no wins and 1 loss in said mini league. Saying it all out loud might be a little much to take in, but just understand it's a matter of between those 3 teams who has done better just among those 3, and right now the answer is the Sonics Soniqs because they have more wins and no losses at the minute, so they temporarily will claim first place in the NAL after this Playday is done.
Now,
Well said.
first off, Jesse, did you want to jump in on that?
No, just well said. That was like perfectly explained.
Jesse, how crazy is it that the top side of this NAL standings is just so stacked right now? Soniqs, SSG, and Oxygen. I mean, it's all comparable, and it's all coming down to that. But anything else you guys want to close up or wrap up from this series at all?
I mean, I think you just take a look at these top 3 teams, right? And it is going to be a battle to make it to that major spot. And Soniqs must be so relieved they're able to get these wins, because if you're dropping these games against teams like Beast Coast that you should be beating on paper, like they already did to XSET, those other teams are going to come for you. And with the competition so tight between SSG, SQ, and Oxygen, every point matters.
All right, now, fellas, we have a community poll question, and those of you at home can also jump in on the fun if you check out our social media pages. Now, the question is, smack that at the bottom of the screen. Young Alec and Yeti have been efficient on entry this stage, but who will get the most opening kills? Jesse, if you were to make a guess before this game started, who would you rock with, the new guy or Yeti?
I think because they were starting on attack, I probably would have picked Alec to get the majority of the opening kills, because again, I think he's done really well when they can start on attack. Unfortunately, I think I would have been wrong. Yeti got, what, 2 opening kills, and Alec, I think, got 1. So
1, yeah,
unlucky
literally
there.
a 1 point difference.
Well, I will say this, Yeti has been on fire lately, so even without the popularity contest, I would have voted Yeti, and the winner actually turned out to be Yeti by 30%, 65 to 35. Still, though, I mean, Jacob, for a popularity thing, Alec did pretty well in this, right?
Look, Alec's getting
getting up
fans.
there.
I saw some people in Twitch chat kind of ragging on Alec a little bit, saying things like, oh, he hasn't been in Pro League for very long, kind of give him a chance. And that is a sentiment that I agree with, but it isn't just a matter of like Alec's individual performance, because a lot of what he's capable of doing is fueled by what the rest of his team is able to give him. He can create space by himself, but it does seem like Beast Coast are going to need to rely on their coordination both on attack and on defense, because that matters substantially to the rest of Beast Coast's overall success. Alec will play a very pivotal part in that for Beast Coast, but for these first couple of games, it hasn't quite showcased itself the way that they or Beast Coast are hoping. Just give it time.
Well, I'm hoping that this next series that we have today is going to bring us a lot of excitement and just some craziness all around, from commentary to Twitch chat to, you know, whatever it might be, because coming up next, we actually have, and this is kind of story, they have a little history, XSET versus Dark Zero. A weird type of rivalry, but one that I've grown to love. So
It's Canadian versus NVK, baby. What else do you need?
Exactly that. Thank you, Jacob. So coming up next, we're gonna Canadian versus NVK. Wow, I didn't even think about that. I can't wait to see it. We'll see you guys on the other side of this break.